Okay, good evening. Welcome to County. Today is Wednesday, February 5th. The Hill City is the city of Oviedo. I call this meeting to order at this time. If you would join me in a moment of silence, and then we can do the Pledge of Allegiance right after that. Okay, if you can join me for the pledge.
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, at this time, I will call for the approval of the minutes for the December 4th meeting. Do I hear a motion?
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
All against? Passes unanimously. And at this time, we're going to have Keith give us our treasurer's report.
All right, this is a pass-off report. Dallas has some change.
Mr. Britt.
So, I get yelled at every week at the council meeting for not doing that too. We've got a balance of $670.34, and since this is my last meeting, I want you all to welcome Judith. She's going to be the new member from Oviedo.
We welcomed her last council meeting.
Yeah, and she will do a great job. I think she's really excited about this, and I think you're going to learn a lot here.
Thank you.
So, the process is right now the account is in my name and who did I say it was in?
Patty.
Patty Mahaney's name. And I went down to the bank, and they said if you have an approved set of meeting minutes with the treasurer's name on it, and I think, Anthony, you should be on it also. I've got the card of Cindy, and she will set you up with the process. It's a matter of going down and signing a sheet of paper, and they'll make the transfer.
Okay.
And hopefully by then I'll be back from Bermuda
With all $600.
with my $600.
We have to get you back.
Oh.
Yeah, really.
But I'm going to leave this folder with you. It's got, I think, every statement since right now it goes back. I'm about halfway through. It's back to 2011. So if you want to do an audit, it's all here. We did an audit, when, 2 years ago?
Yeah, we have to do another one shortly.
Yeah.
Should all be here. So
And how much is the balance last?
670.
Okay.
And I would just want to say, I don't know how long I've been on here, at least 10 years, but it's really been fun working with you guys. It's been a very good learning experience. I've stolen a lot of ideas from you and passed them on, and we're all better off for it. So
Right.
thank you for doing this.
That's
Well,
the
it's great
purpose
serving
of the
with you.
Group.
Yes, we really appreciate it. Thank you. Okay, motion to approve the treasurer's report.
So moved.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Against? The ayes have it. Okay, so then that moves us to the selection of a new treasurer. Who is interested in being the new treasurer? By default, it cannot be the chairman or the vice chairman.
I'll volunteer.
Oh, Jordan Smith. Okay, do I hear a motion for Jordan
I move
Smith?
that Jordan Smith be our new treasurer.
Second.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so we will go ahead and work together in doing the paperwork with Citizens Bank. So we can go ahead. I understand they need a copy of our license, so I'll coordinate that with you.
We also need to, that's a motion to have you put on the account. That is on it.
True.
Yeah, and normally they need the minutes that reflect all that at the bank.
Correct.
Yeah.
So we can make motions for that.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I would move to have Anthony placed as a signer on the account and have Commissioner Mahaney removed.
Second.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
All against? The ayes have it. Okay, now we move on to proclamation for National Census Day. So I have a proclamation over here. Who is going to be representing the census? All three? All righty. Somebody can take pictures. I'm going to read this into the record. And then we can do pictures right after. Okay. Proclamation of the Council of Local Governments in Seminole County observing April 1st, 2020 as National Census Day. Whereas the first U.S. Census occurred in 1790 during the presidency of George Washington, and whereas Article 1, Section 2 of the Constitution of the United States mandate that a census of the population occur every 10 years, and whereas the next decennial census will occur on April 1st, 2020, and whereas an accurate and complete population count is vital to Seminole County as population counts are used for determining the allocation of billions of federal and state dollars to local governments for funding programs such as public health, housing assistance, education, and transportation. And whereas the census counts determine the number of seats in the U.S. House of Representatives as well as redistricting of state and local voting districts. And whereas for every resident that does not respond to the census, the county will risk a significant loss of federal and state funding over a 10-year period following the census. And whereas COUNO joins with the Seminole County Board of County Commissioners and each county municipality in issuing a census proclamation encouraging residents to participate in census awareness events and activities to ensure a full and accurate population count. And whereas for the first time in census history, residents will have the option of responding to the census online, by phone, or by paper. And whereas the Seminole County motto for 2020 census shall be, "We all count in Seminole County." And whereas COUNO issues this proclamation by common consent, encouraging every resident of Seminole County upon notice by the U.S. Census Bureau to promptly respond to the 2020 census, as everyone counts. It's easy, it's safe. It's in the Constitution, it's a civic duty, and its vitality important to every state of Seminole County for now and in the future. Adopted this 5th day of February, 2020. So if you want to join me, we can take some pictures as well. Who has a camera? Want to take it? Perfect. Okay, board members, you want to join me as well so we can take pictures? And then after that, we'll go and open it up for comments.
Do you want the short people in front? I'm used to it. Everyone's in. Wait, who am I in front of? No, that in front of him. I don't want to be with your arm, at my back. How do you want me to do this? I can sit in a chair.
Okay.
There you go. There we go.
Lucky here.
Ready?
Perfect. Thank you. Thank you. Here we go. All right. Do you want to tell me here at the mic so you can say a couple of words?
Sure.
State your name for the record.
Speak into mic. Okay.
Good evening, folks. My name is Philip Capro. I am an attorney with Kilgore, Perlman, Samani, Denius, and Squires in downtown Orlando. But I'm not here as an attorney tonight. I'm here as the chair of the Seminole County Complete Count Committee. Most of you may have heard what I've had to say already. I've been to your various cities, and we've gotten all the cities on board, so I appreciate that. We are not the people that go knocking door to door. That's the actual Census Bureau. We are more the booster club for the Census Bureau to make sure that everybody understands the importance of getting out there and responding to the census as the information becomes available. John Horvath, my co-chair, my vice chair, has all the numbers and details, so he's happy to share that with you. The county coordinator, Tony Matthews, has all of the stuff in his head. I don't, right? I know some of it, but I don't throw out numbers because at the end of the day, the past is the past. I can tell you that we exceeded the national average 10 years ago, which was 74%. We did 77% of a response. Since I want to do better than that, we want to do better than 77%, right? So we are reaching into what's called hard-to-count areas. Those are the areas that are traditionally less likely to respond to the census information when asked. With a 77% response rate, that's approximately 3 out of every 4 households have responded. In a hard-to-count area, you may have 2 out of every 4, or 2.5 out of every 4, and we're trying to help promote to get that information out. And why, you may ask, do people not fill out the forms when all it does is help bring money and congressional districts to the area? Well, I don't know if you all know this because you're all elected officials, except for whoever's here from Seminole State, you. So yes, you're not elected, but everybody else here is, and so they understand that, or maybe they don't understand. People are sometimes a little less than 100% trusting of government, and so because of that, they're a little loath to give out information. So what I will tell you is, unequivocally, information that's provided in the form of responses to the census is completely private, non-releasable to anybody other than the person who filled out the response for a period of, correct me if I'm wrong, 72 years, which is a long time. And so there is no reason for people to be concerned, but they are. And our job is to make sure we get the word out. Students should know that they are to identify based on the home where they are primarily residing April 1st, 2020, which is Census Day, regardless of whether they live at home somewhere else, right? Go home for the summer, which where they are living. I don't want to take your time because I know that you all want to. I know that you all have plenty to do this evening.
Do we have any questions for Mr. Capro? Jordan?
It's not a question. This is more a comment. I would like to commend yourself, Tony, and John. You guys have done a remarkable job going to all the cities, getting the proclamations. I personally witnessed one of the committee's meetings that you held, and they are truly boosters and cheerleaders to educate the public, and you guys are doing an outstanding job, and I commend for all your hard work. So.
Well, thank you. You can also commend Ed Young, because he's on our complete count committee as well.
Yes.
Commissioner, do I need to start over again?
I think he.
I've seen each other far too much of the time. We were up in Tallahassee together.
Indeed.
And, and the other places, but it's great to see him. And he's doing a great job, as is his vice chairman over there, and as is Tony. And I'm sorry?
Mike, make sure you speak.
You couldn't hear me?
No. It's not on. Oh, it's not on. You could.
Can I ask a question?
Yes, you may. I may not be able to answer it, or I can make it up, whichever you prefer.
Since you can do this online now,
Yes.
this time, when April 1st comes, can we just go online, or
So,
have to get sent something and then get a code to go online?
starting in the early part, that's a great question, by the way. Ideally, you'll be done before Census Day ever arrives, right? It's kind of like taxes. You don't want to wait till the last minute. The lines get long. It gets really kind of brutal. So starting in the early part of March, Tony, is that right?
Around March 12th.
Right around March 12th, invitations to participate in the census will start going out to households. And when, as I understand it, when that comes, you will get the unique designator that you can then use to go online and complete the form. If you don't fill out the form online, you may get a phone call. You can do it on the phone. They can do phone interviews. You can do it from your smartphone. If you don't do either of those, then somewhere thereafter, you're going to get a traditional paper census form. And if you still don't complete it, that's when we start following up. And by we, I mean the people that go door to door. You will never see this body going door to door for a census. It's just not going to be a thing. I'm going to be too busy knocking doors for candidates and other stuff, I'm sure. But that's the process, and they will then send out that. And obviously, the more people that respond, without having to incur the additional expenses of mailing and door-to-door, I know the government doesn't seem like it cares about spending money, but I do, right? So our job, if we do our job right, we'll have a minimal number of those people. And I believe there's 2,100 jobs. That's the number that popped into my head that was allocated to Seminole County. And the last I heard, as of when we were up in Lake Mary, they had they had been like 93% filled as of that point. We will hit 100% of the target for jobs in this county, which is phenomenal. Any other questions? Paul?
I was just going to let you know that Dr. Lorenz for the college has placed an agenda item on our next board meeting for the Board of Trustees for the college to approve the proclamation as well.
Excellent. I appreciate all that Dr. Lorenz does, and thank her, please, on my behalf.
Because Seminole County is a very dense county and a small one, do you find that it's a lot easier to work in this county, doing a census, than it is in other counties where they're a bit more rural?
Okay, so I don't know if you were listening. I don't go do the door-to-door stuff.
The information that you've heard, not you personally.
Well, I think that in a county like this, the people, the average people are above average, right? And so they understand and take their civic responsibilities very seriously. And as you recited in the proclamation, it's not just your right. It's in the Constitution. It's your obligation to participate in the census. And we are a very civic-minded community here, and we understand the value of the dollars coming in. And I think that Seminole County is probably one of the easier counties to participate in, not necessarily because of the spread out area, because you can go out to Geneva and that's not like compressed at all, but it's because the people care.
Okay, great. Do we have any other questions? John, Tony, would you like to make any comments?
I will.
I knew you were itching.
Well, see, we do the 1-2 act, and I'm the follow-up. I'm the numbers guy. I'm John Horvath, 1004 Bradford Drive, Winter Park, Seminole County Park, with a Winter Park address. In 1950, the population of Seminole County total was 25,000. Figures I have seen for now is around 462,000. So that should give you a picture of how the county has grown in the last 70 years. The school board, their attendance in schools registration is 67,000 kids. So we have numbers that blow us away. As I did at Castleberry, mentioned you had 30,000 people. You got more people in your 9 square miles than the entire county did in 1950. So I'm trying to picture for people and the city officials and everybody else how this county has grown. And this is the second time the county has done this. They did it in 2010, and I was on that committee back then. So we need to get the people involved. And like Phil said, it's money that comes back to us every year for the next 10 years. And as many of you know, you got a lot of projects coming in your jurisdictions with residential, whether it's apartments, housing, etc., that they're not going to be occupied April 1st. But they'll come in after that, and that money from them is not coming until 10 years from now. So we need to get everybody to count, because those people are going to put cars and stuff on the road and etc. So this is important. I know I've been to half the places here with the proclamation, so I'm hoping we have, like Phil said, a good response and get good return for our money. And might get 2 representatives in Washington. We might get a third if the counts come out statewide for a third one. So we're third in population, Florida is, so we should be third in representation in Washington. So thank you.
Okay, great. Thank you. Name for the record.
Hey, thank you, Tony Matthews, Seminole County. I'm, as Phil mentioned, the Complete Count Committee Coordinator. Had the pleasure to do this in 2010, and John was on the committee back then. But we spoke at Calno, as you all may remember, and back in December when you had your meeting in Longwood. And so we really appreciate you doing a proclamation I know all the cities now, as of Monday night, Longwood has completed their proclamation, so all the cities are on board. The East Central Florida Regional Planning Council, they've also done a proclamation. The school board has also done one. I think Lynx is looking into that as well. And also, I think Ed's organization there is also looking into doing that. And I've been in touch with I'm an adjunct at Seminole State, so I've been in touch with them about reaching out to the students. It's like Phil mentioned, that it's with the students, it's really where they are on April 1st. That's what matters. If they're from out of state and they're going to Seminole State, they don't say, well, Mom and Dad will take care of that. No, you have to do it where you are. So I'll be involved in that. So, but most of all, just want to thank you. Thank Commissioner Constantine. He was instrumental in recommending we do a complete count committee again this time. So thank you very much.
Great. Thank you. Sure. Quickly.
But I do want to point out here, Commissioner Smith from Lake Mary. I took a point of personal privilege the other day in Longwood to point out that two of their commissioners were in my leadership Seminole Class 29 with me. And so Commissioner Smith is in that boat as well. So if you want to see him on April 4th, I'm sure he'll be more than happy to tell you about the Seminole Smackdown, which is our project fundraiser at the airport. I'm sure he's going to bring it up during his report this evening.
Yes.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Great. Thank
Ladies, have a great evening.
Okay, guys, thank you very much. Have a good night. Okay, next up on the agenda is presentation, Local Simulation Industry Overview by Dr. Neil Frankenstein, Chief Operating Officer of the National Center for Simulation.
Okay, is this working? Yes. So I was told to stand over here so this doesn't interfere. I thank you for inviting me down here. I'm also a professor at UCF, and my lectures are usually an hour and 50 minutes, so I'm doing this in 10 minutes. I'm going to go really quick here. But I'm with the National Center for Simulation and kind of tailored the remarks because I figured you were more interested in economic development, jobs, the education stuff we do. So I'm going to talk about that, but I'd be remiss if I didn't tell you what an important mission this is. Our job is to help train soldiers in the Army, and warfighters in the Navy, the Air Force, and the Marines. So it's a really important job. A lot of times you'll hear about all the soldiers that have been injured or killed, but you will rarely hear about all the lives that have been saved and the limbs that were saved with training devices that are built right here in Central Florida. So it's a really important mission, but I'm going to focus more on the economic development. So we were in Tallahassee a couple weeks ago for the legislative fly-in with OEP, Orlando Economic Partnership, and Florida Chamber of Commerce. And of course, we are lucky enough to be able to present all that goes on in Florida, and this is your defense industry in Florida. It is huge, 20 bases. And if you look at these red boxes that I just bring up here, we are the only state in Florida that has 3 sinks, 4-star generals. We have the Special Operations Forces, the headquarters in Tampa, and of course, the wars in Afghanistan, the Middle East, and Iraq are being administered out of Central Command, which is in Tampa, and of course, we have Southcom down at Doral and by the Miami International Airport. So 3 sinks in one state is incredible. It's one of the biggest secrets we have here in Florida. And of course, those precious spaces that are in light blue and water, this is where we do our training. So it's very important. You wouldn't put an oil rig on I-4. We don't want to put oil rigs where we're doing bombing ranges in the ocean and submarines and everything else. So it's very important. So what we learned, and I'm going to talk a little bit about what's going on in Central Florida, but what we learned, of course, every 3 years the University of West Florida does a study, and that study is to see the defense impact in Florida. 3 years ago, it was $85 billion. Now it is $95 billion. That's a lot of impact. That's a lot of jobs. That's a very important mission. But what we do here in Central Florida, we call it the Silicon Valley of Simulation, and that's where we are headquartered. And in there, what we do is modeling, simulation, and training. That's the what of what we do, and we do it because these things that we build saves time, money, and lives, and we do it through training aids, devices, simulators, and simulations. Think virtual reality, so you big simulators, mobile apps, anything and everything that would train somebody, that's what we do. And we've been doing it for a long time. Those are the Blue Gooses of 1934, when this industry started with the Lynx trainers. So we're really excited about this. These are all the folks that are co-located with us in Team Orlando. Department of Homeland Security is there. We have transferred over 200 tools and training devices to the Department of Homeland Security. So not only do we work with the Marines, the Army, the Navy, the Air Force, Coast Guard, we also are outfitting the Department of Homeland Security as well with these devices. And our organization, the National Center for Simulation, is kind of the spokesperson for industry. It's a nonprofit organization, and we have over 260 companies that support us. In Central Florida Research Park, there are 1,650 DoD civilians, and there are over almost 150 military, and the average salary there is $115,000. So these are high-paid, high wages compared to what you see on the other side of town. And this has been going on since the late 90s, so you can kind of blame us for a lot of the traffic in town, because this has just been growing with $4.5 to $6 billion every year annually that comes into Central Research Park. And a lot of that money stays right here in Florida. Okay, our success obviously is based on this chart, which shows you 500,000 students in that radius, and that's what fuels our pipeline. So we actually work with something like Haggerty High School. We do camps out there. Every year they have 300 students in the Model and Simulation Magnet program at Haggerty High School. Last year we gave them $12,000 worth of equipment from AR, VR, 3D printing, etc. So Haggerty is the closest high school to our research park, so we're working very closely with them. We hope to expand that to other counties, and we're really excited about that. The camps I put on are focused a lot on girls and women, getting them into STEM type of careers, if you will. So we get funding from the Army and Navy for these camps. We take them out to NASA, Universal, the Robotic Surgery Center in Celebrations, and also to Lake Nona, the Simulation Learning Center, where they have a hospital out there at Lake Nona. It's a total simulation hospital, from the 911 calling center to the ambulance arriving to the operating rooms is all simulation. So we work with all these folks out there, but it's all fueled by what we do with academia. And out there in Research Park, we do everything from satellites to submarines. We do it undersea, on sea, land, air, space, and cyber is a big program right now. We have over $2 billion in cyber programs that is going on in Research Park right now. And as you can see, this is kind of a little map of where our soldiers are deployed. Everywhere there are soldiers deployed and warfighters deployed, our training devices will be there. And how we do it, we're just trying to transfer stuff. We put people in these simulators so that they can learn something and take it with them when they go to live training. We're into war. If you just look at that device that is the second one in there, it looks like a tank simulator, and we have a commander and a gunner inside a cube. Inside that cube looks exactly like the inside of a tank, and then they can pop their head out and they can look around just like in a tank. It's all simulation. And on the right there are your two soldiers that are what we call instructor operators, but they're your teachers. So you continue to be trained in these things before you even smell a real tank. Those things can be networked together. I can have one in Florida and one in California working together. And then all these things you see there are things that we put together. So you can actually do a mission rehearsal on this augmented table, and you can be telling the soldiers what to do in the tank simulator, and also in the dismounted soldiers simulators that are all in head-mounted displays, seeing the exact same thing. And then if somebody gets injured, we can bring up the medics for the medical simulation. And all this is done through immersion, just like Universal and Disney. Some of the same companies that work out there do the same things for us. And what we want to do is physically, mentally, emotionally engage these people in these environments so they can learn something. Okay, and it hasn't changed since 1971 when Jim Henson did Sesame Street, and he said, you grab somebody's attention, you can teach them something, and that is how we've grown simulation, just with that concept. And the object here is to teach them something over some timeline, and with simulation we try to do it faster, move that to the left, where we try to give them more training, and ideally we want to do it more and faster. And now the great news about what's going on in our research park is this is now being transferred out of the military and into everything that we talk about here, like Nona Medical City, the Space Coast, what's going down at Creative Village, chips and manufacturing, homeland security, energy. All our companies now are looking in all these different avenues because modeling simulation is ubiquitous. And I just give you one example. I don't know how many of you have been to Maitland and been in the EA Sports Complex up there, but it's pretty cool. And, parents and grandparents always wonder why these kids are playing games all day, but these people, what they're learning today, and if you go up to EA Sports, these people are walking in at 12 o'clock with hair color I've never seen before, tattoos and earrings. It's wild. But they're learning everything. It's not about gaming. They're learning artificial intelligence, how to broadcast. They're learning cloud computing, cyber, data analytics. When a football play happens on a Sunday or Monday night, within 30 seconds, it is sucked into the next Madden football game. So they know all this stuff. You got to make it look right with physics, video production. Now they're getting into esports, so they got to be able to promote these things. And you see anti-terrorism. Why would anti-terrorism be up there? Well, when the FBI comes calling EA Sports about some idiot that did something, they're going right through their network to figure out who he or she was talking with. And so now the FBI is involved. So EA Sports is in all these things now. So the folks that are working there are highly sought after. And you give them a government clearance, it's amazing what they can end up doing for you. So it's really exciting to have them now, EA Sports, move downtown, out of Maitland downtown, and be co-located with the University of Central Florida. So we're excited about all that. And these are just all the different things we do, whether it's card-based games, just games, distance learning, augmented reality, building mobile apps. We have done everything, to these gigantic simulators, to managing these gigantic miles-long training places like at the National Training Center where they fly people in helicopters and they fight for 10 days with multiple integrated laser engagement systems and pop-up targets and everything. So this is a lot of the things we do, and what NCS mission is and what I try to do every day is promote, protect. That's why I'm here. I'm trying to promote, protect, and set the conditions to grow this $6 billion Florida modeling simulation community. And I have a video, but I think it would be too long, so I don't have to show it. So I think that's about all I have, unless there's any questions for me. I really thank you for your time.
No, thank you.
Where is it actually located?
This is actually located in Central Florida Research Park,
Yeah.
right next to the University of Central Florida.
Oh, so it is right
Right.
next to it.
So some of you probably are aware, State of Florida has given us 5 partnership buildings, and the last 2 partnership buildings, Partnership 4 and 5, were $42 million state investment. And the object of those partnership buildings were to put 50% of the people from UCF in there and 50% of the people from the military. And so it's a very close relationship we have with the University of Central Florida and the Institute for Simulation and Training. Some of you probably saw some of that in the news last week. And it's a very close relationship. UCF sits on the board of directors for Team Orlando, and this is where it has grown. And now it is growing out to the Space Coast and downtown and to Lake Nona and out at the bridge in the Kissimmee area as well. So a lot going on there. And of course, we're working very closely with incubators and small businesses these days. So very exciting. Elon Musk will be here at the end of the month speaking at the Air Force Symposium at the Rosa and Shingle Creek. And at that, they do a little Shark Tank, but they call it Spark Tank. And they look for small businesses that are doing some great things to help us. Did I answer your question?
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Do we have any other questions?
And that includes medical simulation too.
Right. The first group that graduated the UCF Medical, they were the first 40 students years ago that went into the UCF Medical. They actually started in the Army's research lab. We built them simulation center in there because Lake Nona wasn't ready. And so the people out at that Army Research Lab really, through contracting, helped develop medical simulation. The mannequins used to be half the size of this room to have a mannequin, and then they embedded everything in the bodies. Now we have birthing simulators, dental simulators, colonoscopy simulators, you name it. We have it all out there, full-up operating rooms that they're operating on mannequins. So it's very, very exciting, very exciting. Yeah. Thank you very much for your time.
Thank you.
Mr. Chairman, I think one of the interesting things that a lot of folks don't understand, and you pointed it out, is the economic impact to the state of Florida. There was $90+ billion. Interesting, and we followed this when I was in the appropriations committees, both in the House and the Senate. It usually is almost parallel to what the state budget is. Has nothing to do with it, but the state budget and the economic impact of the DOD is pretty close all the way through. Right now, the state budget's around $92, $93 billion, and their economic impact, and that has been consistent for many, many years. I think the one thing that a lot of people don't understand, and you also pointed out I used to be chairman of Veteran and Military Affairs, as well as Community Affairs in the House, and one of the things that's very interesting is that we might have the 14th largest economy in the world if we were our own country, but we would be the second most powerful military, the state of Florida, just simply from what we have in Florida. Compared to anybody in any other country, we would be the second most powerful military. Kind of interesting stuff.
I hope that doesn't make us a target.
Oh, that's what makes us a target. That's exactly what makes us a target.
Yeah, that's what I said. Don't spread that around.
I think everybody knows it. Or everybody that you don't want to know it knows it.
Actually, now I wanted to move to other business, and actually I wanted to have conversation with some of you representatives. I know that, just for curiosity, like about 2 months ago, I started looking into some of the pockets that we have in the city, and throughout the years, there's been enclaves that have popped out or have been created one way or another for whatever reason. We have about 7 or 8 of them in the city of Casbury. And I started being curious as to, in some of your cities, what it is and how many do you all have. Having said that, I'm not sure what the process is, but it's sort of like a conversation that we can have with each other. It's like, well, what makes county relevant? And if we can come up with some process with the county to see how we can clean up. Because what happens when you have enclaves is you have county shares going over to try to help facilitate the residents within a specific community. But Art, it looks like you have information.
In our joint planning agreement with the county, we have that, is it 10 acres or less?
Yes.
Yeah. If it's an enclave of 10 acres or less, it becomes annexed when it's sold.
And that's a policy that you have yourself within your city?
With the county.
With the
Agreement
county.
with the county.
If
In
the
our
same-
joint planning agreement.
For City of Sanford.
May I add to that?
That sounds good.
Yeah, go for it.
As a senior planner for Sanford, Commissioner Woodruff is correct that we do that with the county. However, the only issue we've had is a lot of times people aren't aware that upon change of ownership that they're now in the city of Sanford. So then we got to go do some research and find out what their land use and zoning is. So there are complications, but we are working with the property appraiser to clean that up as well. So, but it's been a good process and it's worked well.
Yeah. Since it's automatic, we sometimes annex property without knowing we annexed it.
Yeah.
That's curious because I didn't know that was already implemented. Do you know when that was implemented with the county?
Was it the last joint planning agreement, which was about 10 years ago, wasn't it?
2008.
Yeah.
It preceded me. It was just before
Yeah.
I came.
Lee, can you help us with that? In other words, what would you happen to know in relation to that? Because we have a lot of enclaves within the city, and it just doesn't make any sense. It's like, what way can we move forward to get those enclaves incorporated into the city limits?
Well, I'm one that has endorsed strongly joint planning agreements with every city as well as counties surrounding us. So I think that would be the most viable way of doing it, just like the Sanford, I think Oviedo just sent us a letter that they want to renew their JPA, which is good because we've been asking them and the previous administrations have ignored us. So it's kind of nice that they're doing that now. And we, I for one am very thankful that they want to do that. And I think that other cities should look at that. I know that, when I was with Altamont Springs a long time ago and still today, we have an agreement as to what we do with the county. So I think you might be the exception instead of the rule. I think most counties, most cities have some sort of relationship directly with the county on what happens to those things. And frankly, in many cases, cities don't want the enclaves. I can tell you that when I was with the city, I would go to Phil Penland and then later now as a county with Frank Martz and say, oh, don't you want this section? Oh, no, I don't want that section, even though it's an enclave within the city. It happens that my mother and stepfather live just outside the city, right next to it. And so, and Frank doesn't want their street. But all kidding aside, it is something that I don't think the county would have a problem with. It's more the folks that live there, I think, that you need the convincing of, not the county.
Okay. Good to know. Okay, well, that's my marching orders for Monday's meeting. That's a good idea right there. Do we have any other business? Well, he's going to be public participation.
I'm just wondering if this council can have a conversation about the current legislative session and what concerns each city has about various bills that are being introduced. I think this would be a good body to have a conversation and take back to our cities and discuss it even further. So
I'm open to that. I don't have an issue with that.
Well, I just got back from Tallahassee 2 days ago, and I can tell, a little bit. I can tell you simply that it's the hands-on assault of home rule again. It's not, you can just grab an issue. Suntan lotion. Today it's fertilizer. Yesterday it was, vacation rentals. You pick one. And, folks that have less experience than local government with 60 days to do everything, and their only responsibility actually is to do the state budget, constantly think they have to get their little hands into our business. So, that's it. That's the Florida Association of Counties. We had a joint meeting with the Florida League of Cities. As you know, I'm on the executive board of the Florida Association of Counties. We had a joint meeting with them and the school board. It's all the same. It's, I'm not saying that their policy is that great either, but what I'm up in Tallahassee. But what I'm saying is, regardless of that, if you put your hat on of local government, the biggest problem is that they just want to, they're hell bent on on getting in our business.
What are some of the ones that you're thinking of?
one that was just introduced recently was building design standards, where they want to preempt that, and some cities that have residential design standards wouldn't be able to implement them. That's coming from the home builders, so that's just one. There's small ones regarding mobile food trucks. There's just a whole slew of them. I don't know how many of these are moving forward.
Well, there's more every year.
Yeah.
And the fact of the matter is that what I think that, I mean, we can speculate on what the reason is. I mean, it's gotten worse and worse. Home rule is in the Constitution, for gosh sakes. And when I was there, maybe we would have one or two a year. Now it's, 10, 15, 20. And it's mostly coming from the House. It's mostly coming from folks that don't have any local government experience. In fact, if you look at the statistic, there are less and less folks that have local government experience now than any other point in Florida's history that are legislators. So local government officials are not moving on; they're staying at home, and these other folks are going there. But I wrote an editorial on it, I think a number of months ago. It's the process of being able to say no. They don't have the experience of saying no. And the best elected officials in the world are people that can say no and tell people that no, that's not the right thing to do. So somebody that's a contributor to you, and you're a representative out of Miami Lakes, and the city says that you cannot cut your tree down because you don't have a permit, he calls up his state legislator and says they're all obeying the law, and he says, that's right. And then he starts writing a law for the entire state of Florida that tells you that local governments don't have the right to tell you that you need a permit to cut trees down on your own property. I mean, that's what it is. You can't, they because they don't have the experience, they don't foresee the unintended consequences of their actions. So it's going to be an assault. And the problem is it's being fueled by the speaker and the last speaker before him, who they don't like local governments. They would love to have everything to themselves, but God forbid that the national government tells them to do something, and then they're yelling and screaming that, how dare they try to take away states' rights. And, with 400 plus cities and 67 counties, and we are the incubator of new ideas, and we are different. So if Monroe County wants to protect the coral reefs, which God forbid that we wouldn't want to protect the coral reefs that are being decimated by certain types of products or chemicals in suntan lotion, and there are easy alternatives to that, so what? You can't do that. That's what they're trying to do. Or in our case, we have the strongest fertilizer ordinance in the world, and God forbid, in the state of Florida, and God forbid not one. And one of the biggest things that everybody's worried about is water, right? And fertilizer is one of the three most important pollutants, if not the most important pollutant in Florida. And Floridians, and you can just ask IFAS, use 10 times more fertilizer than they need because they're all from the north and they think they need fertilizer, and when they don't. And but just today or yesterday or something, a guy from Polk County decided that he was going to call it the green team and say that that he's going to preempt fertilizer because he wants to protect water, which is the biggest crock in the world. And he's going to try to tell all of us that we can't have a stronger fertilizer ordinance than there is, and this is than the minimum that they have, which is a joke. It's their minimum fertilizer ordinance is a joke. So we fight the Association of Counties and the League of Cities. Fight it one step at a time. Usually, we're playing defense. And I wrote the Unified Building Codes. So them telling us, and what I did was I did bottoms up, where local governments could make it stronger than the ordinance. The ordinance was strong, but we could make it stronger. So when they make an assault on that, that makes me sick to my stomach because that's my bill. But what they're doing is that you're right. The home builders will always use the excuse, and the insurance industry we've been identified as the best building code in the nation. Get awards every year. Every year the state of Florida does. But every year also, not all the home builders, but certain home builders that are in the power say, this costs too much. Yeah, well, The next time that house collapses in a hurricane and someone dies, that costs a hell of a lot more. So, it is what it is. We will have to fight it every single year until they come to the realization. And, you know, I've said what we need to do is play offense, and I'm sorry I'm taking so long, but one of the things I said, okay, they keep wanting to come and do our business, so the cities and the counties should get together and get into their business. And you know how we do that? This was my idea. I said, okay, set a constitutional amendment, just like we did 8 is enough. We didn't, but people did. Let's do a constitutional amendment that says there can only be 100 legislators. 75 House and 25 Senate. Guess what? They'll be scared to death. I know, I was one. They would be scared to death because, number one, the people would vote for it, and number two, they would be out of a job, a lot of them, and use that as leverage. See, I mean, that's the point. Until we play offense, but we're so diverse that we're never going to be able to get together to do that. So,
But, you know, and locally, we still support those same people that are going up to Tallahassee to do it to us.
and that drives me crazy.
I mean, I look at the list of who's
Yeah.
supporting the people running, I'm like,
Just like Congress, just
Why?
like everybody says we hate Congress, but we love our congressman.
Exactly.
I mean, we hate the legislature, but we keep voting our legislator, or whatever that person is. I hope that you didn't think that about me. I'm kidding. But I mean, that's but that's. Well, I'm sorry, but I mean, at the same time, when you're talking about this issue, I'm in the, I mean, I got the highest honor from the counties, the highest honor from the cities, and the highest honor from the school boards when I was there. So, for local government concerns.
yeah. I guess it was last year our local representative came for the post-session discussion with the city, and we, of course, jumped on the home rule thing, and he said, well, this one didn't pass, and this one didn't pass, and this one didn't pass, and this one didn't pass. Like, every one of them had passed the House, and he had voted for all of them.
Right. The beauty of, and that's the beauty, that is the one thing we can take to the bank, that of the 2,000 bills that are filed, less than 10% pass. It's a lot easier to kill a bill than it is to pass a bill.
Jordan, do you know the bill number for that design one?
I do not, I can get that. Okay, that's it.
So you're good?
Yeah.
Okay.
I just want to piggyback quick on what Lee was saying. 2.5 weeks ago, the Soil and Water Districts actually had a bit of a heart attack because the state representative from Lake County, in response to 2 supervisors in a different county not doing their job, one resigned, one held on with her teeth, wanted to introduce an emergency bill getting rid of all soil and water districts throughout the state. The state, and we flooded Tallahassee within 3 hours. Within 3 hours with phone calls from every county. We had AFCD, our state agency, and we had NACD at the national saying, "So you want to lose this funding, this funding, this funding?" Guys from Lake County, they received $1.2 million in funding via NRCS. For federal law, you don't have a soil and water district, you don't get that money. Last year alone, Seminole County, $350,000 in services.
Unintended consequences, they just don't get it.
And the biggest saving grace was the fact that Senator Gruters from Sarasota, his county happened to be the largest recipient in erosion repair, receiving $22.8 million last year in federal funding after for combating 2 different hurricanes and rebuilding all the canals throughout Sarasota County.
Well, you always wonder what brought it up to begin with.
One
person calls up and they said it ought to be a law. They don't know how to say no.
It was his response to it's a first-term state legislator.
Exactly.
I don't think he's ever held elected office before that, who saw the news articles, in the Sentinel about dereliction of duty of 2 people, one of which who never missed a parade but hadn't been shown up for her elected responsibilities in 10 months. So, and it was just his response. And
Saying do away with schools because there are, some bad.
Because people don't go to school.
Well, they're trying to do that. But, there was the representative that I think his garbage went and picked up, and so we were facing a bill where we would have to refund any time a garbage pickup was missed.
Wow. Okay. Next up, we have public participation.
Wait, he already talked.
He already talked. He can't talk again.
Different
Oh, come on.
If you're willing to add something new.
Yes.
Make it short.
I am short, no. No, John Horvath, 1004 Bradford Drive, Winter Park, Florida. And this is how I'm going to start my conversation. I live in Seminole County, but you have in Seminole County areas with Winter Park address, a Apopka address, and I don't think there's
Maitland address.
Maitland address. And when I moved into my house in Howard Estates in 74, it was Maitland, 1004 Bradford Drive, Maitland. The post office changed it, became Winter Park. I was hoping we'd get no disrespect for Castleberry, but one of the cities within the Seminole County so people know where they're at. But if you look at your city limits, many of you cross and touch other cities, and yet people don't know where they live. You've got so many people coming from north where they have the city of, the village of, the whatever, and they don't understand that we just got the two-tier system here. And this county has worked together with the cities, and I go back with enclaves back in my volunteer fire department days in the Goldenrod area, or Winter Park on the Howe Branch, where their station is on Howe Branch. That was a county area back in the late 60s, early 70s, and of course over the years the city of Winter Park annexed that area, Dominic Hills and all that, and now it's part of Winter Park, but the station's still there, they remodeled it. The point is, I know Seminole County cities and the county have worked together, and the school board, where you're a tight county, you need to work together. The enclaves have always bothered me because people don't understand where they're at, and where's the fire truck? Oh, you're not in that city. Of course, we have Seminole County Fire and Rescue covering a couple of those cities, plus Sanford has their own Longwood and Lake Mary, and they all work together, but these are things that confuse a lot of the taxpayers, and how the 7 cities in the county can work to eliminate some of those confusions will help. Now, when I bought my house in the county, I didn't pay on my power bill, I didn't pay taxes on my electric bill, etc. But over the years, the county put those on. The cities already had those. So there are things that, is the city living in a city cheaper than the county? But if you look at the rates of some of the stuff, in some cases there's not that much difference in those things. So, maybe this is things you can look at to see how work together and make it easier on the people and yourselves and not have some of these situations. Thank you.
Thank you. Any further public participation? Okay, seeing none and hearing none, we're going to move on to member reports. We'll start with the City of Oviedo.
Thank you.
Welcome.
And welcome to our humble city. And I'm excited at being on the council here. I was sworn in December 2nd, 2019, and so I'm looking forward to learning a lot from you all. We've been involved in many things since I was sworn in. Perhaps the biggest decision that I had to make after I was sworn in on council was the redevelopment of the Macy's store in the Oviedo Mall. And that's going to be really an outstanding redevelopment. Plans for senior housing and regular apartments, and if I understand correctly, eventually a hotel. So that will solve at least that problem with that empty store. If I understand correctly, they're going to tear down the Macy's and build from there. So that's one of the most exciting things that happened. We had a CRA meeting before our city council meeting on Monday, and we were supposed to get an update on a part of the CRA redevelopment that's to the north of the city. That's going to be an exciting issue, and we weren't able to get the update yet. It'll be another couple of months before we get the update on that, but that will probably be one of the most exciting things in terms of the redevelopment of the old downtown. And also they're planning to widen Broadway from Pine Street to about Avenue B. So again, that's something exciting also disrupting.
The big Baptist church is...
Exactly, from the high school on down. So that's going to be exciting, but again, interesting. From what I understood, we got a report from someone saying that actual work will not begin until 2021, to the fall. So, another thing that the city is getting ready to do is our charter review. So we will select, at the next city council meeting, we'll select the 15 members who are going to be on the charter review. Each council member will get to choose 3 persons from the community to be on that charter review committee. And also, one of the committees that I've been placed on is the Friends of Lake Jessup, to sort of restart that, because from what I understand, it was kind of dormant what was happening. And I attended a meeting on the on Thursday with the Lake Jessup Basin Management Action Plan. And I think his name is Robert King, I'm sorry.
Robert King.
He's going to walk me through what happened. We're going to meet. He's going to walk me through what happened at that particular meeting, and hopefully we'll jumpstart what was going on some years ago with that Friends of Lake Jessup. And I believe that does it. I'm trying to get my feet wet and trying to pull things together, and I think we're doing pretty good. Yeah. So that's about it.
Great. Thank you. Art, City of Sanford.
Yeah, just a couple of things. We awarded the contract for completing the Riverwalk from where it ends now, about the hospital, out to I-4, out to 1792. And so that work will be starting soon. I was the grumpy person because of the amount that it went up, and of course we got some extra funding along the way from FDOT. Gave us more money for taking over 1792 along the lakefront than we had originally expected, and of course immediately the cost of the project grew to meet that. And when it came to us, we actually it was about a $1.5 million shortfall even beyond that. But it's going to be a beautiful project. Seminole County's helping with it through third-gen taxes and through trails. We got over $11 million from the state. And so coming to about a $30 million project.
How many miles is that? Is that a couple of
I'm not
miles?
because he probably knows that number and I don't.
3,
That
isn't
way?
it?
Yeah,
Yeah.
What?
about 3 miles.
Yeah. Be total of 7
Yeah.
once it's done. But it'll connect, eventually it'll connect, on both ends to the county trail and the state trail that will go all the way around Lake Monroe and connect to the state trail system.
That's a good workout.
Yeah, but it has been hugely successful for Sanford, having that river walk down there, and this next segment is, really
Yeah.
a step up even from what we've been doing, I think. So it's going to be a great job. Sign of the times, though, we only had 2 bids on the project. One was reasonable and close to the engineer's estimate, and one was completely out of range. And so we were sort of concerned with that, but that's how road building is going around us right now. And so luckily that we feel
Available companies.
we're
They're all building roads.
right. So we, it was, and it's a company that that has done some work before, and that CPH Engineers has worked with a lot. So we've got confidence in them. The other thing I'll mention is the Mayor Triplett, and Commissioner Kerry Wiggins are going to Tallahassee next Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday. Kerry Wiggins at Seminole High School has a program called Young Men of Excellence, and it's a program he works with some underprivileged kids that don't necessarily have the opportunity to go places and do things, and some that just really need a helping hand. But he's done an excellent job with that program. but they are taking the group of young men of excellence up there, and the mayor's taking the Mayor's Youth Council. And they'll be there Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. So, and that's all.
Okay, great. Seminole Soil and Water.
All right. Quite a few things. First off, and I spoke with Sarah at our last meeting about this. There's a conflict with our meeting date right now for August. I'm trying to work it out with Longwood to see if there's something viable we can do. Maybe and if someone might be viable, switching dates with them later down the line, or if I can get a different venue. So by our next meeting, I will have either a please can someone switch with me with one of these dates, or I have a different location secured. So I'll let you know about that. At our January meeting, my board decided that I didn't have enough stress and threw me under the bus to become chair. Kind of knew it when I had phone calls from all the other four the week leading up to the meeting saying, can you please? So that's my fun job this year. The Central Florida Envirothon is tomorrow at Lou Gardens in Orlando, and I'll be one of the judges helping see that. These are teams that have qualified via their local high school programs, sometimes 4-H or different subgroups, and there's at least 2 from Seminole. I don't know what schools they're from, but 8 counties are sending teams. So this will be my first time judging for that. We're participating in the Orlando Wetlands Festival on February 15th. We're the only soil and water district actually invited to participate. We have a couple programs going on. We are in the process, the Wild Seminole program with the trail cams. We were just approved to get permits so we can start putting out trail cams in different areas to demonstrate wildlife movements. We're in the process of testing some of the technology we have at our availability. The pictures have been humorous of what we have caught.
Of the humans or the animals?
Yes. we have decided, and for the benefit of the humans, when we're testing them, to put up signs warning them that there's a trail cam.
I think that's wise.
Oh, jeez. So.
You are being filmed, so.
Yeah.
Remind them, too, there's probably public records.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, and one was interesting because we didn't secure it well, and a bear took it for about a quarter mile. So we found it down the road.
The camera?
The camera, and we have pictures of the inside of its mouth and everything now.
Wow.
So we were having fun looking at it.
I want to see that.
Mr. Matthews said, we are in the process of doing a census proclamation as well, due to the fact that this is what USDA now uses as its guiding force for releasing the federal funds. And the formula that USDA uses to release funds in regards to the census, that deferring number is that what percentage is participating, because they call that an accuracy perfector, and they take the whole formula, okay, here's the money, and then they say, okay, now multiply it by what the accuracy was. So right now we're getting 77% in funding when USDA approves something, because that was our accuracy. The higher we get, the better. The goal, as I said, to get over 80. There's only 7 counties in the United States that hit 85% in the last census. So they get the bulk of the money. Let's see here. We are working on revising our bylaws to update them, get them a little bit more in contact with more recent decisions on sunshine laws. Our state governing body has changed how we do our state conventions. For the last 15 years, it has been at the Ocala Hilton in Ocala. Everyone treks there. As you can imagine, the districts out in the Panhandle didn't show, neither did the very south of Florida. We are now on our rotating schedule, where it goes through. Last year, we hosted the Area 3 meeting, which is almost 50% of voters is represented in that. In 2022, Area 3 will be hosting the state convention, and we're working on trying to get it, if not in Seminole County, over this direction to get everyone here instead of Sarasota or Charlotte County, because it runs the length of I-4 minus Volusia and then all the way south to Charlotte County. So that's a huge pocket of land that everyone's trying to fight for. Plus, it also gives us extra funds from the state for that. And we are looking into providing, we're in the beginning stages of with the county planning and building departments to provide wetland determinations as a free service for individual single-family property owners. This is something new through NRCS. So that see if they if there's a possibility of wetlands and their property and if they meet setback requirements. Usually there's fees involved, but NRCS now has the ability to provide these services through us, and it would not be for realtors, it would not be for developers, it is for a single-family home. And we are hopefully within the year we'll be able to work everything out. So instead of having to pay somebody through county planning and building departments, they can say, here's the form, fill it out, and this is the fax number, and they'll send somebody out. So that is, I think, it for us.
Thank you. Seminole State, Paul.
Just a couple of things I'll update you on. One thing, we had a new program that we started this term, actually, spring term, in hospitality management. We specialize in hotel management or restaurant management. We expect it to be a very popular program. We did a lot of surveying work before we opened the program, so we're excited. We just had an open house last week in one of our larger buildings on campus that we had some space freed up when we started that new student center that all of y'all got to come see a couple years ago when it opened. And we're looking to renovate that space and create a meeting area to be able to host community meetings as well. It'll have a commercial kitchen attached where we can do the catering in-house for the events. Ultimately, hope to get into the wine business as well, and that would be part of that facility.
Craft beer? Get with Sandra?
Maybe, yeah, maybe. That one's a little, I think, more competitive. But so excited about that program and look for that to continue to grow. We just had 6 students nominated as semifinalists in the Jack Kent Cook Scholarship Program for community college students. It's a national program. They get thousands of dollars that they can apply towards seeking a bachelor's degree and also advanced degrees, masters, and PhDs. We've done very well in the past in helping our students get those scholarships, so we're excited to see how many out of those 6 we can make finalists. We just recently helped host an oratorical contest for high school students for Sanford's Martin Luther King observation. We're very proud to help with that event, and had a young man, a high school student, I forget which high school, give a great speech, and he actually won the contest, and we provided a year's worth of tuition waiver for that student. So I'm excited to be part of that. We hope to be part of it again next year.
That was great.
We also, just a couple new people on the administrative side that you might be interested in. We have a new director of safety and security at the college. He comes to us, his name is Miguel Sierra. He comes to us from the sheriff's office. He used to be in charge of, I thought the southern part of the county, maybe covered Castleberry as well, the areas around Castleberry. So anyway, great guy, glad to have him on the team. And we also have a new CFO, Joe Major. He comes to us from the College of Central Florida, has a lot of experience in the finance areas. So that's what's going on with us.
Great, thank you.
And I'll add something to his report just because, in how our county works together very well. Seminole State is working with Seminole County Public Schools and is hosting a program for 80 Seminole County teachers in computer science through a grant from the state, which is already being called a model for how this needs to work. So that's worked very smooth. I'm in the program, which is why I know about it. Yeah. But it has been, you wouldn't expect it to be so seamless, how those two organizations were able to, they brought us in, filled the form here, everything's worked out great. So,
Great. Thank you. City of Altamont Springs, Sarah.
Well, my report's short, but this is our 100th year, the city, and so we started off the celebration with a bang on January 28th. We had a beautiful gala at Uptown, outside. Very formal, and it was catered by the Embassy Omaha Steakhouse. But it was beautifully done, and the guest list really included a lot of people from the past that helped Altamont get to where they are now. And it was nice to see some of the people there that I hadn't seen in a long time. So that was the kickoff event. There will be other events all year that you'll see posted, but it is our 100th year anniversary for Altamont.
Great. Thank you.
I would like to say Lee was part of that history as a very young man.
a couple of years ago.
Thank you.
The youngest commissioner, right, Lee? Is that the title you still hold?
I thought you beat me though on that one.
No.
Castleberry. Okay, we started a park initiative to improve our parks in Castleberry about 2 years ago. Finally, after having citizens weigh in as to the improvements that they wanted within certain parks and what they wanted to see and such, they developed a whole plan of how much it's going to cost. And we're going to see if the citizens want to vote for a bond referendum for $24 million to improve all the parks. Having said that, understand that Castleberry is a 50-50 city, 50% commercial, 50% residential. And it really falls more into the business sector than it does actually the residents. And the residents will have that opportunity. They can vote for it. It's going to be on the ballot on March 17th. And we'll see how that goes. And other conversations, we also have an opportunity of interest on purchasing the Castleberry house where the founder, the house that the founder of Castleberry, Hibbert Castleberry, lived in. It was a James Gamble Rogers home that he designed. It's supposedly the largest residential house that Gamble Rogers designed. And the son had passed a couple of months ago, and the heirs are interested in doing something different. So we're looking at expanding our park system and maybe looking at it as a quality event center. So just something as conversation. Other than that, I have nothing else to report. Lake Mary, Jordan.
Yes, thank you. I'll try to keep my comments to 30 minutes or less.
Thank you.
Top golf in the city is going well. We're looking at opening in summer of 2020. Recently, the city just approved the final plat for the Lake Mary Wellness and Technology Park, which is part of the new Century PUD, which is 154 acres, and it was divided into 9-block subdivision with 8 different tracks. We're currently under construction for upgrading our water treatment plants. And if you've seen the news lately, we were not so lucky with our Luckies. So we're waiting to see what happens. I read in the paper that when Dixie purchased the Luckies in Lake Mary, so who knows if it's going to be Winn-Dixie or one of the other companies underneath them. Our opening day for Lake Mary Little League is February 15th, Saturday. And then our annual Lake Mary Heathrow Festival of the Arts is Saturday, March 7th, and Sunday, March 8th. And then, as Mr. Capro said, I am a member of Leadership Class 29, and if you don't know about Leadership Seminole, each class picks a nonprofit organization to raise money for, and we pick Canterbury Retreat, and we're doing raising money for renovation and expansion of the challenge course to incorporate more courses that be universally accessible component for users. So we're having our big event on April 4th at the Southeast Ramp. You can buy, if you can't attend the event, you can buy bricks. But April 4th, tickets are $90. The highlight of the event will be wrestling. There'll be some professional wrestlers and also some elected officials will be wrestling.
Matt Morgan.
So
Who else?
Mayor Morgan is coming out of retirement.
He's always out of retirement.
Supervisor of Election Chris Anderson, and then also Commissioner Ben Paris will be making an appearance as well. So if you're available, please come support this wonderful cause.
What is that Canterbury Retreat? I don't know what that is.
It's right here in Oviedo. You want to talk about it?
It's a wonderful place. You must visit there sometime. It used to be owned by one of the early pioneer families, the Bostons, and they sold it, and it's, I forgot the name of the denomination.
Episcopalian.
But it's gorgeous. It's one of the hidden gems of Oviedo.
So is it a place that
There's
has,
retreats and they
Yes.
have courses.
so you rent it out?
They have a hotel room type thing, so you can, and they have a cafeteria that you can rent it for family reunions. We've done that.
I get it.
And they have their own chapel, which we did. We rented the chapel, and then they catered the family reunion, the weddings, you name it. It's beautiful. Absolutely.
The Rotary Club of Oviedo meets there too. If you ever want to just use that, because I know a lot of members are Rotarians, and that's Wednesday morning. So,
And then they have the Palette Coffee Shop, which is in Sanford. They're reopening their coffee shop there. I think they started today again. So it's a wonderful place.
and this event that you're doing is to benefit that.
To raise money to upgrade the course, correct?
What's
the course?
The course.
There's a ropes course.
Oh, okay.
So a lot of schools, nonprofits,
They use it for team building,
right.
corporate retreats.
I mean, but it'd be great to have it more accessible for people in wheelchairs and people that.
And who's putting that on?
Leadership seminar, March
Okay.
29th.
And that'll be on April.
April 4th at the Southeast Rim.
I think that I have that on there. Yes, they just didn't say who they were going to do it for.
Okay.
Okay, great, thank you. Next, we have City of Longwood, which was not able to make it. So last but not least, we have County Commissioner Lee Constantine. Floor is yours.
Oh, okay. Well, first of all, I want to introduce you to Sarah, who has been here patiently waiting because she's got things for me to sign and do, and so we're going to go in there and have.
So she just followed you around, is that it?
Well, and Sarah, actually, I want you all to know, she started with me back when I was in the Senate. She was part of the program that I started of UCF interns that came up to Tallahassee and worked and lived there full time during a legislative session. And she started school a little bit later than most, but she and I got a bond immediately, and she went from an intern to working for me full time for many years. And then when her mother got ill in Lakeland, she went to take care of her, had to leave my office, but went to work for Senator Paula Dockery, which many of you probably know. And then when Paula left the Senate, she went to work for Congressman Dennis Ross. So, and when he left, I called her and I said, "Come on back." And so now she's with me again, and up in the county. So she's got a wealth of information, and I just wanted you all to get to meet her, know her, and if you ever have any concerns, problems, or whatever, we have this district commissioner, but we run countywide. So just like I was not a district senator, I'm not a district commissioner. I am a commissioner, and if anybody has any problem, no matter where it is, and needs my help, I'm happy to do that. A couple of things that affect all of you. First of all, I told you about the golf carts that we were talking about last time. Now everybody seems to want to have a golf cart community. The latest is English Estates. Has called us up and now wants to do something like that. So I just thought I'd make you aware of that. Each one is different. Each one, what we have decided is instead of just having one size fits all, you have to apply. Your association has to want to do it, and then you will have certain rules and regulations pending upon your location in the county. The water tower. Who would know it that the Castleberry Water Tower, which is one of the ugliest things you've ever seen in your life, and has no water in it, by the way, and has not been used, and was built in the 1950s, and has not been used for years and years, except as a cell tower, has now created controversy because I and others in the community around there, English Estates, wanted it down, which they should want it down. The city of Castleberry wants it down. They're not going to paint it, which would cost about $200,000, $400,000 to paint something. But it seems that there's certain people around that neighborhood that think it's pretty and don't want it cut and knocked down and want the city instead to beautify it. And instead of taking it down and making a park out of that property, they want the water tower there. So, it never ceases to amaze me what people like and dislike. So now we have a controversy in the English Estates area over a water tower that doesn't have water, that would cost $400,000 to paint, and the city is willing to take it down, and Verizon is willing to put their cell tower. I think the biggest problem was Verizon kind of did the cell tower initiative wrong by not saying, and we'll camouflage it and this and that. So now we've got that's going to come to the commission with two sides of the coin fighting each other over whether to keep a cell tower or a water tower or not. I did want to, isn't it funny? Yeah, it really is. I mean, And I wanted to comment on the 100-year anniversary because it was fantastic, and they made sure that everybody knew that of the 100 years that the city of Altamont Springs existed, I have represented in one form or another that city for 40 of those years. So it shocks me besides anybody else, but that is but it was beautiful. And it was wonderful to see so many people there. The mayor of Oviedo was there. The mayor of Longwood was there. A number of different mayors and representatives were there. Okay, just like Castleberry, we have the natural lands, and I want you to know that we all know that there are people with their little blogs that sit in the basement of their mother and write things about everything. So we have one we all know in the county, and that person has misled everybody on our natural lands suggestion. We have a committee, which we appointed countywide, to look at potential needs. The next thing that's going to happen is once we do that, we will decide just what is really needed or not, or whether we even want to put it on the referendum. And then, as it says, referendum, we will let the people decide instead of they're going for this massive tax increase without your knowledge. Well, if it's going to be on the ballot, I think you'll all know about it. And you'll have your choice and decision as to whether to do it or not. People like to do blogs and ask for $10 and $15 contributions, and that's how they make their living. It's misleading people, so good for them. The next thing is our emergency management, Alan Harris, who does an incredible job. Oh, another thing they're trying to take away is puppy mills, telling us we have to have puppy mills. Amazing, We have to have puppy mills as a business. The county of Seminole County is, and I'm very proud of this, was one of the first counties to eliminate puppy mills and eliminate the purchase of animals, and instead have the adoption program, which all of our pet stores agree with. but now the state thinks that we don't know what we're talking about, and we should allow the insidious business of puppy mills in the county. But Ed, who's also in charge of other things, is putting together a flood management committee, and I've got the information now. And one of the things that I suggested is that because Soil and Water is always looking for things to do, that those members get involved. I know that one of your members has reached out and wanted to do it, Karen, but I still have an appointment, and I wanted to know if one of Karen or you or somebody would like to be part of that too. So I just wanted to bring that out because it is specifically have to do with water, obviously. Tomorrow I'm speaking at the Greater Orlando Sports Commission for a number of NCAA national tournaments that may be coming to Seminole County. It's going to be this is a great way to, for tourist industry, and as we all know that Sarah is the chairman of that, and I'm on that board. But we are in line to get the Division II tennis tournament, which is really a wonderful event, and that also provides a great deal of money and everything. The schools all come around here. So, and one of the things when Art mentioned about going to Tallahassee, reminded me when you and I were and Coach Wiggins were talking at the airport just recently, how back in 2002 is when you won the state championship, football championship. And as a senator, I invited the entire team on the floor of the Senate floor, and I was at an event the other day, and one of those players, who's now 20, got to be in his 30s, comes up to me and says, "That was the greatest event that I ever attended. I was on the floor of the Senate." So, when you do little things like that, it reverberates and comes back to as a really positive thing. And the last thing, and I know you all saw about the river cross and the agreement that was made to put the federal lawsuit, abate the federal lawsuit for the time being. And let me just tell you, regardless of what is going around and is being said, the only thing that was agreed to is to allow the applicant to present the plan that he would provide if he had the land. So, and I wanted to read something to you that I sent out to all the citizens that did, and to say another thing. At the meeting, on the record, I made sure that it was known that I do not consider, even if all the process went through, I do not consider this a one-for-one trade. Our 200-plus acres is worth a heck of a lot more than the 600-plus acres that he would provide us, and therefore I expect additional considerations which we would have to agree to through the process. But let me just read this that I sent to everybody, and if any of you want it, Sarah will be happy to send it to your email so that you can give it to others. But thank you for contacting Commissioner Constantine about the River Cross rural boundary issue. Commissioner Constantine is well aware of your concerns, and rest assured he will not accept any deal unless it is favorable to the citizens of Seminole County. Below is a statement released by the county attorney's office. Please read carefully, especially the line that states, "The proposed settlement agreement does not in any way promise River Cross that the county will approve any entitlements for zoning, future land use, or other requests relating to the new application of River Cross submits." Essentially what we're doing is, or what has been approved is, if the courts accept the putting the federal lawsuit in abatement, that he would then be able to provide an application for what he would do with that other acreage. And it would have to go through the Development Review Committee, the Planning and Zoning Committee, and 2 public hearings. So essentially, from going into the meetings, that because it's in a federal lawsuit, has to be, a federal court has to be out of the sunshine, it puts everything in the sunshine. And quite frankly, I would ask all those that are concerned about this, or approve, or think it's a wonderful thing to do, you need to make your voice heard. Participatory democracy is not something that everybody expects, okay, I'm going to tell you and then you just do it for me. It's something that if, as it goes through the process, whatever you might think about it, you need to let us, just as the people did previously on the rural boundary, let us know about it. I, for one, I can't, again, it's still in federal court. The courts have not approved it. I can't talk about what happened behind closed doors, although it is going to be public record when it's opened up, and you'll see that how I fought very vigorously on this. However, the fact of the matter is we got a long way to go and a lot of things that need to be done. And so anybody that says, oh my God, they're going to trade this property for that property, it really doesn't know what they're talking about. So, any questions?
When you say a long way to go,
well, you go through, this application has not even been provided. So the first thing, it's just like anything that happens in the city. First thing that goes through is it's an application that then the staff gets to look at, talk about, discuss at a thing called, in our case, the Development Review Committee. Once that happens, then it gets, and all of the questions are answered, at least in the eyes of the staff, and the staff puts in a report, which could take months. Then it goes to the Planning and Zoning Board. After the Planning and Zoning Board approves or disapproves or whatever, which, as we all know, is just a recommendation, then it goes to the Commission. And all of these things, other than the DRC, is in public view, as opposed to right now, which, it's nothing. Nothing is, because it's in the federal court, nothing is in the sunshine. So, whatever comes out, and we don't even know what comes out, all we've agreed to do is let the applicant tell us what they would do if they had, and were able to trade for the 220 acres for the 690 acres, which were in the rural boundary. Okay? And with that, Mr. Chairman, that's all I've got, unless somebody has a question of me about anything.
Any questions for Lee? Okay. Now moving on, next meeting is going to be hosted by the City of Sanford on April 1st. Do you have any ideas of what you might want to showcase?
I didn't realize that until I sat down and looked.
We got 2 months till April Fools.
Maybe that's what it would be.
We'll all show up.
We could just say there to me.
So just put that as...
The wheels.
Yeah, or just send some emails out and maybe have some ideas as well. And if anybody wants to bring anything else up, just go ahead and email. And having said that, I guess we can adjourn. The time is 7:45.
You might want to, maybe the airport. A lot of things are happening in the airport that we're working on with you.